Going through the dealing with subtle entities.
Uh-huh.
Okay. The devic world and nature spirits.
Mm-hmm.
Just quickly. So, if people were in a position where they were having to deal with the fairy realm, divas, etc., etc., what is the etiquette?
Serious.
Serious etiquette.
Is bottom line.
Yeah.
Is that one? You know, as in fairy tales, you know, tread carefully.
Yeah.
Main thing is pleases and thank yous.
Mm.
Don't assume anything. Don't assume anything is what it appears to be.
Yeah.
So think of something appearing to be good turns out to be worthless. It's
Right.
that level of sort of appearances can be deceiving, and it's that on every level.
Mm.
So there is, because of the perceptual differences
Mm.
of those, right? So therefore politeness and not the biggest difficulty in those areas is assuming you know the territory and how the inhabitants behave.
Mm.
Yeah, because I mean, in some ways, those energies are to be considered amoral,
Yeah.
not immoral.
Mm.
In other words, they don't have the same ethics and belief systems that we tend to have as human beings,
Yeah.
and there isn't that clear-cut
Mm.
stuff. And so this is your assumptions are probably your most dangerous thing.
Right.
And that's actually true, not just on at those nature levels, but at every level of spiritual
Yeah.
being. Yeah. The key is always to not assume anything and to always make very sure that you understand what is being offered or asked before you do anything about it.
What I found that is that people assume that the whole of spiritual creation is beneficial towards human beings.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Whereas there are big chunks that are totally indifferent to human beings, or maybe quite antagonistic towards human beings.
Because they see human beings as being wreckers,
Mm.
basically.
Mm.
Yeah, so you're in touch with some of the earth elemental energies, and they can be really rude
Yeah.
because of how they see us behaving.
Mm. In the context of divas and the fairy kingdom, etc., gifts. How do gifts work? I can remember once reading about you've got to be very careful if you take a gift because it will set some sort of obligation,
Yeah.
and if you're given instructions, you have to follow them to the letter.
Yeah. It's I mean, very often when people doing that sort of work, they set up in the first place that they go into that sort of experience also already having some sort of known or unknown gift with them to exchange, because the thing is the exchange.
Mm.
So if you have something that if you accept something, you have something secreted about your person that you can discover and give that isn't inherent part of your energy system, then that's a good point. If you've got nothing in your pockets, you've still got to give something.
Yeah.
So what's going to be given? It may be something you don't particularly want to give.
Mm.
Yeah.
Like your first baby.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
basically, it's reading
Or
the
your third.
tales and seeing what they say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just going a little bit step further, because there's something else I've found interesting, because let's call it demonic energies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now there is traditions that basically say there are things out there that are very malevolent towards human beings.
Mhm.
Okay. But recently, or maybe going back longer than that, the Love and Light Brigade it doesn't exist, or
If you don't think about it, it's not going to be there.
Yeah. So therefore, they come a bit of a cropper when they're having to deal with these sort of energies. So, what would you say around those sort of things?
First of all, although there may be absolute good and absolute evil, we're not in any state of awareness to judge what energy is beneficial and what energy is harmful or evil or good at that level. All we tend to perceive is something that feels safe and something that feels threatening.
Yeah.
At that emotional level, this is good, this is bad. We will tend to colour our visual perception or mental perception of that energy in a form that equates to that emotion or that instinct.
So if it's something that makes you very, very scared, the instinctual mental responses, that's bad.
Right.
And you will create a visual image of that in a scary way.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily the case. If something, we tend to be scared of things that we perceive as more powerful than ourselves. So seeing as most spiritual beings are in their own territories more powerful and more knowledgeable than us, then we are scared quite a lot by spiritual beings if we are not familiar with their energy patterns.
Right.
And we will tend to run away rather than try and assimilate or understand that energy.
So if you're correct, if you come across such a being that is seriously pushing your buttons, that's why, is it a case of, well, okay, if you can't deal with it, then you back off and you contact somebody who can, because they know the territory.
Yes.
Certainly, but the first thing is not to get absorbed with the fear pattern.
Right.
Yeah.
So, if you, and the fundamental level is, if you're scared shitless by something, then you won't be able to deal with it.
Yeah.
So therefore you'll have to go and get somebody who isn't scared.
Right.
Yeah.
Or
Are
somebody
you
who
scared?
is even more scary than the thing that you're scared of.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying to Ollie. You're
Yeah.
back going to festivals. He was saying there's people there that go round and they're doing all this, and I said they're stealing your energy. They're not frightening, Ollie. They're stealing your energy. And he was like, well, what do you do about that? I said, well, you either let them know you know what they're on, or become scarier than them.
Yeah.
And that works too.
Yeah.
I said, and that's quite fun, because then you can be mental and enjoy it.
If you look at the Himalayan,
Yeah.
especially Tibetan and Himalayan tantric traditions,
Yeah.
you've got the scariest visual forms are not the demons, they're the gods who have taken on a scary form to really scare the demons into control. So the scary images are not of evil things, they're of harmonious, balanced things taking on a form that can control and subdue the chaotic, restless energies.
Okay. So is it not to approach it from a, use Christian sort of like good and evil in ultimate terms, but okay, there is an energy here that is pushing my buttons or pushing
What
my
are you doing? I mean, if you look at the biblical stories of angels, I mean, apart from Gabriel saying, "Oi, Mary, you're up the duff," most stories about angels in the Old Testament are to do with conflict with human beings, fighting with people. Now, it's interpreted in terms of fighting because they're going against God's will.
Yeah.
But you don't get any stories these days of people fighting against angels or having angels that are aggressive, or sumo angels, or it's all love and light angels. Angels that massage your ego, or actually any entity that massages your ego, or agrees that you are a wise, evolved spiritual being, and we are humbled by your noble presence, are speaking complete bullshit and are not what they appear to be. Because no entity that has any level of enlightened perception will talk to any individual in that way. And in fact, the keys are no real teaching will be offered without being asked first. So you won't get anything from anybody unless you ask for clarification, clarity, knowledge, wisdom, whatever.
Yeah.
And if anybody offers you something without you asking, then you've got to take that with an extreme pinch of salt. And if anybody starts saying how wonderful you are and evolved you are, then just laugh and walk away.
And if they start talking to you in a very patronising, looking down the nose way, talking to you as my little children, also on their way, because there's no respect.
Those sort of energies, even if they are not malevolent, will be interpreted by our emotional self as a crutch. If they are becoming parent figures and we are the children, then the energy flow is out of balance.
So in those sorts of situations where it's something that feels malevolent or something that feels that's feeding your ego.
Yeah.
It's the don't give in to fear and stay grounded.
Yeah.
Yeah. The important thing about the ego thing is that if somebody says something to you that is true but that you don't want to accept, then a lot of people will just take the humph and just walk away.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to even consider that as being reality. Whereas in fact it's a test. How much is this person able to perceive themselves in a different way? And if you can accept the possibility that what is said has got some truth to it, then that shows that you are able to be open to receive information. So there's a lot to do in fairy tales as well. There's a lot of challenges that have to be passed in order to get the rewards. And it's the same in most spiritual encounters. You'll get a lot of energies, tree energies, land energies that will first of all be frightening because of the sense of, ooh, that's big and I was little. Yeah. And then there will be some sort of test or mirroring of something within you that you would prefer not to accept. And you either acknowledge that or you don't. And if you don't, then you won't really get much further with that energy.
Yeah. That's a classic. One of the people up in the West Midlands started to work with dragon energies, and she worked with somebody else before coming into contact with us, who got her to destroy and damage these energies. And this is before she realised that they are the energy flow within the planet. And when she realised, she was very upset. And she said, well, what do I do? How do I go and say I'm sorry? I said, look, go. I said, face them. Say you're sorry. And I said, and stand your ground. I said, trust me, stand your ground. I said, because they'll scare you, but stand your ground. And she came back and said, she said, look, I'm awfully sorry. I did this, I didn't understand what I was being asked to do. I did a lot of damage. I'm prepared to repair now. And she said they turned round, and she was seeing them as dragon energy, and they just blasted her. But she said as they blasted her, all the crap disappeared out of her subtle bodies. Yeah. But she said to stand there and be accepted that you were going to basically be told off initially was, she said you had to conquer her fear and just stand there.
The key is at those levels is sacrifice.
Yeah.
And that's also in the Old Testament as well. There's that thing where you are required to make a sacrifice.
Yeah.
That means that you're required to change what you accept as being your identity as who you are, or some aspect of who you think you are. And without any sacrifice, you're not going to change. So you're not going to grow, you're not going to increase, you're not going to... So the sacrifice isn't necessarily going to be something really significant, but it's going to have a significance to you, that in that you do not want to let go of it.
Yeah.
You do not want to let go of your fear. You do not want to let go of this who you think you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
But having said that, they are rewarding relationships to build.
Yeah, I think probably
when done properly.
The shamanic way, the way of working with power animals and guides and guardians in that traditional way of drum trance is probably one of the safest ways to learn that that concept of give and take and sort of behaviour. It's fairly difficult within any of the New Age concepts because there's a high overlay of Christianity in all those things, and a high overlay of Christian imagery as well, which make it easy for the ego to take over and sort of the enlightened ascended being versus the muggles, Yeah.
But the bottom line is, if you can't deal with it, go find someone who can.
Yeah. In terms of that as a practical level, you either learn how to cope or you don't learn how to cope. And if you haven't learned how to do it, then you should know people who do know how to do it.
Although, I suppose what I'm getting at is that there are times when you would like to run away, but you can't because you're the one who has to stand there and deal with it. So
and that's when you stay grounded.
Yeah.
And just literally, in doing that, you'll be able to fly by the seat of your pants.
Yeah.
But the thing to do in that split second is to know you anchor yourself.
Ground.
Yeah.
Ground and don't give it to fear.
Literally, split second.
Yeah.
Is probably all the time you have.
Yeah, acknowledge your fear and let it go.
And let it go.
Yeah, don't get lost in the emotional thing. I mean, it's a common enough situation. You're in a therapy situation. You want a nice, easy time of just putting stones around and making somebody feel nice.
Yeah.
And suddenly somebody turns and gets very sort of weird on you.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a sort of a, not just a, oh my God, what do I do next? But also a fear thing of how can I control this?
Mm-hmm.
Or how can I make... And it's the grounding thing. It's the anchoring, grounding, and don't get into the fear thing.
Yeah.
Just relax and laugh a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
You can get rid of most demons by laughter, because demons are basically...
grumpy old git.
I was going to say grumpy old gits,
They are hungry.
Yes.
Demons are hungry.
Yeah.
And if you don't feed them with your fear,
they'll go somewhere else.
Yeah.
If you see me when I'm hungry, I'm grumpy. So demons are extremely grumpy, extremely starving, and they will require whatever energy they can. No, not just at the moment. I'm fine just at the moment.
Okay.
Give me 10 minutes or so.
Right. So, before we go off for a pub lunch, it's grounding and don't give in to fear.
Yeah. And you will have, there will be a split second window when you'll realise that all you need to do is ground,